Hello everyone, very good morning. Welcome to the Hindu news class analysis with me, Saumya, on StudyIQ English, your favorite UPSC platform. Very good morning. I hope I'm audible and visible. Welcome to the Hindu newspaper class on 12th December 2025, where you and I will be looking at UPSC relevant articles from the Hindu New Delhi edition for the day. Today being 12th December 2025, here are about 6 articles that I have picked up from the newspaper. Okay, and before I start analyzing these articles one by one, a quick reminder, the first 3 articles are all editorial page articles. Like every day, we always start from the editorial, followed by remaining 3 articles that are globally, nationally crucial, but then they are also more related to the prelims news. But the first 3 more detailed, they need a 360-degree analysis. And before I can begin, a very good morning to everyone who's present here. So very good morning, Prasad and Deepak, as well as Kalaka, as well as Priyanshu. Bulbul is here, Anurag is here, Saurav, Vimal, Munali, Rishi has joined us. Rahul is here. Yes, visible and audible. Thank you, Priyanshu. Thank you for confirming. So, good morning, everyone. As other aspirants keep joining, let us quickly have a look at today's agenda. Yes, absolutely. I met you, my dear Rahul. I did see you. Good morning, each one of you. God bless you. Let's start with the first article. Very good morning, Sumit. First article, editorial page, page number 8. The article is talking about education cost in India, a very high educational cost in India. We often say that in India, there is a huge youth bulge. We have a very young population, average median age of Indians being 28 years. We are the youngest country in the world. That means we have a great human resource potential, but at the same time, India also is suffering from a very painful inequality when it comes to the educational sector, while it is the urban elite population which has access to private, better quality, and more public exam oriented education, plus tuitions and coaching culture is paramount because there is a lot of money to spend. However, if you look at the rural poor community, usually they depend on government schools, municipal schools, which means neither are the teachers very qualified, nor is the syllabus that they are studying up to the mark. Language being another problem. Therefore, in terms of communication skill, in terms of being prepared for public exams and private sector white collar jobs, it's always the rural poor that suffers due to this urban versus rural contiguum, this urban versus rural divide. It is not just a digital divide, it is basically an educational divide. That's what this article is looking into. And therefore, if we do a quick topic mapping of this article, it comes to GS paper 1 and GS paper 2. Why GS paper 1? Because it is a matter of Indian society, it is a social problem. Second, GS paper 2, because we are looking at vulnerability, social vulnerability among the urban poor population whose children do not have access to good quality education. Okay, so on that note, a very good morning. Irfan, as well as my dearest Kochumba and Ramu are here. So happy to meet them. Vikash is here with us. And Anurag, yes. Today also we have a small article today, which is talking about what exactly? The hate speech that you're mentioning. That's wonderful to know, Bulbul. That means I can obviously be a part of your preparation journey, and that makes me thoroughly excited. God bless you, dear. Okay, now let's have a look exactly at what are the details of the article here. GS paper 2, social injustice. We are looking at the lack of education inequality in India. Now let us go back a little bit to 2002. Something very huge happened in India in 2002. What happened in 2002? Who remembers? In 2002, we added another fundamental right to the list of fundamental rights in our constitution, part 3 of the constitution. Which fundamental right was that? It was fundamental right article 21A. That's what we added to the constitution. Why? Article 21 means the right to life and liberty. Yes, Article 21 is the right to life, the most important article in India. In 2002, through an amendment that is referred to as the 86th Amendment of Indian Constitution. Beautiful, Rahul and Vikash. 86th Amendment of Indian Constitution. In 2002, we added another fundamental right that became Article 21. Absolutely, Vikash. It was the right to education in India. And what does it say? It says every Indian child from the age of 6 years to about 14 years, they have a right to universal basic education. They will be given free of cost compulsory education. Yes, Ramu, Article 21A, the new fundamental right in 2002, it was created through the 86th Amendment Act, the right to education for children aged 16 to 14. Then another milestone was achieved in 2020 as we were looking at the COVID pandemic era. One new revolution was created by the Indian government in the field of education. I often tell my students when I teach them GS paper 2 that bacha always remember India is one society where we haven't had many educational acts or educational reform policy. The first one was passed in 1968. Second one was passed in 1986. And the third such revolutionary, yes, Sumit Vikash, absolutely. The first was 1968, second was 1986. Both of them could not solve the purpose of modernizing Indian education. So therefore, yes, in 2020 during the pandemic year, yes, Diptesh, yes, Sumit, yes, Rahul, Vikash, Sumit, absolutely, Anurag, we have passed the national education policy, the new education policy 2020. That's what we passed in the pandemic year. What was the improvement that was introduced by NEP 2020 over the existing Article 21A, right to education? The change was that while the 86th Amendment Act, Article 21A 2002, made education compulsory for ages 4 to 16. Now, the National Education Policy 2020, along with its other important goals like digitization, language teaching in mother tongue up till grade 8th, vocational skill, also introduced one more change. Now, the age group that will be targeted for compulsory universal education has been extended to 3 years to 18 years. That means now we believe in a universal education up to class 12th, grade 12th by 2030. Another very crucial feature is what Rahul confirms us. The structure of 10 plus 2 has been now modified into 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. That's the new change introduced by the NEP 2020, which means we have made it compulsory now to have at least 3 initial years that a child needs to undergo preschool education. This has now become mandatory. Preschool education. What is preschool? Preschool means early, I have mentioned this before in one article, early childhood education, ECE. This concept has now become compulsory. And how does the government try to promote this? The government is trying to promote this through its Anganwadi centers. I repeat, Anganwadi centers. The centers in rural and peri-urban and some small towns which propagate elementary education at preschool level. Before going to the formal school, a child before entering grade 1 needs to undergo some kind of nutrition and some kind of socialization, some kind of basic skills like numbers and language communication at the preschool level called as ECE, Early Childhood Education Program. This is another change got by NEP, and we need to achieve all of this by 2030, the same year in which we are supposed to achieve our nationally determined contributions and sustainable development goals. Today we have two clear-cut mandates. One, Article 21A, the other, National Education Policy 2020. Both of these are giving a guarantee that yes, India believes in promoting universal education for all Indian children, despite irrespective of their income inequality, irrespective of their religion, their caste, their culture, their ethnicity. All that doesn't matter, because after all, it is also in line with right to equality, Article 14. Every individual in India is the same. Plus, As who mentioned, Vikash mentioned, or who mentioned that to me right now, just a while back? Somebody mentioned a directive principle of state policy also, Article 45 or something. Who said that? I missed that comment. Was it Diptesh or was it Vikash? I don't know. But somebody just mentioned it. Yes, Vikash mentioned it is also Article 45. Yes, we have discussed about it day before yesterday. It is also a part of Part 4 of the Constitution, the DPSP, which also makes it compulsory for us to improve the level of education and skill among Indian population. Yes? Now, what is the problem? If we have all these great provisions, then why is India suffering from a lack of good quality education? This article says, look at the difference between rural and urban India, and all the reality will become open in front of you. Rural and urban. Let's consider both these aspects when we talk of this article. Yes, very, very good, Rahul. Thanks for bringing that up, my dear. Since education is a concurrent subject that comes under 7th schedule of the Constitution, state list. Since it is a list that is shared between both the center and the states, quickly tell me, which year was education made as a concurrent subject? Can anybody tell me? Bulbul, Rahul, Anurag, Priyanshu, Tarun, Pranarati, Vikash, Diptesh. Today, Reshma is not here. Terukula is not here. Ramu. Which year? Which year was education changed from being a state subject or a union subject? You have to tell me whatever it was, into a concurrent subject quickly. And as Rahul says, because it has now been made into a concurrent subject, the real problem is that many states are refusing to implement the NEP. Why are they refusing? Because it is a matter of 3-language policy. We need to learn English, we need to learn Hindi, and we need to learn one state language. That's a 3-language formula that has been debatable in India from the beginning. Today, many states decline the proposal, like Tamil Nadu, Kerala. They don't want to do that. That is why a fight was happening, under which the central government also told Tamil Nadu that if you want to get more funds from me, if you want more money from the central government, under the PM Shri scheme, the role model school scheme, you have to implement the NEP. So, these kind of issues are on the rise, and beautifully said Anurag, Pranarthi, Rajneesh, initiated from Rahul, then Sumedh. Very good. Brilliant, absolutely. It was the 1976 42nd Amendment. Brilliant, my dear, brilliant. God bless you. Yes, during Indira Gandhi regime, the mini constitution. Yesterday we saw how the 1976 had added one fundamental duty. Fundamental duty 51A, the national honor, the respect towards the national anthem. Today we are looking at the same article. Yes, the same 42nd Amendment 1976, which also added the word secular, socialistic. It has also added education as a concurrent lit subject. Very good. Do not forget that. That's okay. That's okay, bacha. That's okay. You can keep Googling. Main thing is we should remember. If I'm discussing in the class, I'm expecting that you will remember forever. That's the idea. Good. Be investigative. Do investigation. Beautiful. Very good. Very good morning, Manisha. Who's that? Not Manisha. Vishu. Good morning, my dear. Okay. So now if all thing is looking so good, if everything is so hunky-dory means if everything is so good, then what's the problem? The article says there is a problem. Let's compare between the enrollment ratio in the rural area and then in the urban area. And then we get the right answer. Yes? What is happening between the rural and urban area? Just look at the enrollment ratio. Now, there is a data collected by NSS, National Sample Survey 80th round. It was done in 2025, and now the data is going to surprise you. The data says if you look at the enrollment ratio in government schools, in urban and in rural areas, you will find that total government school enrollment happens to be about total, if you look at the enrollment in government schools, schools run by government, that is about 55.9%. But then if you look at private, completely private schools that are unaided, that are totally private, totally individual, the enrollment ratio is about 31.9%. If you look at private aided schools that are private but then funded by the government, these are aided, supported by the government schools, enrollment ratio is about 11.3%. What's the problem then? The problem is if you look at urban areas. Now let's look at urban area. If you look at urban areas, you will find that in urban area, the enrollment in private school is much higher than the enrollment in private schools in rural areas. So let's take a heading here, private schools. Private schools enrollment. What is going on? If you look at urban area, purely private school, enrollment is about 51.4%. 51.4%. If you look at rural private enrollment ratio, that's about 24.3%. Can you see the gap between the two? That means in urban areas, many more people are getting education in. Good morning, Shekhar. Who is getting education in urban areas in purely private schools? It is the urban people. And why is it like that? Because the disposable income is much higher for people in urban areas. There is a much better accessibility of private schools in urban areas. Also, if you look at the gender gap, then there is a gender gap existing. If you look at the total enrollment in government schools, then if you look at boys, about 34% boys are enrolled in government schools vis-a-vis versus about 29.5% girls. So that means there is a gender gap, there is a sex ratio bias when it comes to government school enrollment. And now if you look at category wise, you might realize that it is the rural schools where private enrollment is minimal, whereas it is the urban schools in which private enrollment is very high even at the primary level. Look at the fee structure. Fee structure is again very shocking. Looking at the government schools, now please focus here a little more carefully. Government school. If you look at government schools, we just spoke about private schools before. Private school enrollment, urban area 51.4%, rural 24.3%. That means more people take up private education in cities, not in the rural areas. Now talking about government school, look at the fee structure. If you look at the government school in rural area, the fee is about rupees 823. Rupees 823. And if you look at the urban schools, then the fee happens to be about starting from 1600 rupees to it goes up to 7704 rupees. And we are looking at a per annum figure here. So look at that. Government school only rupees 823 per annum. Urban schools, it can shoot up to 7,704 per annum. That means even the government schools in terms of its quality is providing a better education in cities as compared to the rural areas. Now, if you look at private schools, in private schools, very few children in rural areas actually go to private schools, but then if they do, they are spending about 17,988 rupees to 33,000 rupees per annum in rural areas. But then, if you look at urban areas, you will be surprised to know that the same people, if they go to private school in the city, they can spend about 49,075 rupees per annum into urban private school. That means the fees in urban areas for private school is way more expensive. It's unaffordable, absolutely. If you do a monthly cost comparison, then rural private schooling is about 1,400 per month, urban is about 4,000 per month. Cost, that means the income. Now look at that. In urban cities, the amount of money parents are spending to send their child to a private school in cities, it's the same amount of money that a rural individual is earning as monthly salary. Look at that. Isn't that shocking? In rural areas, a person earns a monthly salary. It is lesser than the amount of money urban residents are spending on their school children education per month. There is a great dichotomy that is existing here. Yes? Is that clear, Anurag, Ramu? Absolutely, Ramu. That is the mentality here. Very, very good. Absolutely. So now what is happening? As Ramu has said beautifully, as Shekhar has pointed out, now that if government schools are not giving you quality, and when in the cities, parents are anyway ready to spend so much money per month on educating their child, what is the only solution you can do? The solution is to look towards tuitions and coachings. What is the trend regarding tuition and coaching? There are tuitions taken by 25% rural children, whereas 31% children in urban areas are taking up private tuitions. Despite school education, addition to that, they are taking private tuition. As your education level increases, you proceed from primary school to secondary school to higher education, the amount of money an urban citizen is spending on private tuitions also increases disproportionately. If you look at the figure, in the city, a person is spending 13,000 per year only on private tuition, average figure. In rural areas, it's only 7,000. That's all. That means in urban areas, there is a much, much, much higher tuition cost, especially at the higher school level as compared to rural area. What are the causes behind that? The causes are extremely high income in urban areas, not in rural areas. More online education, more digital awareness in urban areas, not rural areas. People have accessibility to good quality private coaching centers due to better mobility and transport in urban areas, not in rural areas. Urban areas, majority parents work for private companies. They have a higher education level, more awareness about government exams and good level qualifications, and hence they enable more tuitions. Private tuitions are charging very high fee, and that is only to be borne by the rich parents in cities. At the same time, if you look at private schools, why do we need so much tuition in the first place? Because private schools in the city is charging a heavy fees from you. There are some private schools in cities like Mumbai, Bengaluru, Gurugram, Ahmedabad, Hyderabad. You will be amazed to know that they are charging about 10 lakh per annum fees from the parents. All in the name of fancy infrastructure, free lunch, free breakfast, good quality air conditioned smart board classrooms. But the quality of pedagogy, education is so poor that despite charging so much money, teachers are deliberately underqualified. Teachers do not spend enough time in clarifying the concept. They do not focus at all in making sure that every individual need, every child's need is met in the classroom. Therefore, what happens? The only solution happens to be pushing the child towards coaching. Today in urban cities, tuition has become like a status symbol. You might have seen how so many children after grade 10th are not even going to school anymore. In metro cities, they directly join coaching institutes. From there, they take up competitive exams like IIT JEE, NEET exam, or any kind of undergrad law program. They are least interested. They are least interested in doing that. Yes. So, now what are the implications of that? The implication is rising private schooling, rising private tuition, financial drain on parents, particularly on low income urban students. Low income urban families have no choice but to compete. As a status symbol, they send their children to school and they take a hit with regards to their financial saving. It is deepening inequality, digital divide between rural and urban areas, government schools, poor quality education. As somebody was also mentioning, there is a very poor teacher student ratio in government school. I have told you earlier, majority of government teachers are wasting their time in midday meal scheme, census operation, doing NFHS survey, taking care of vaccination records, compiling papers. They do not have the time per week to actually allocate to productive teaching and taking assessment of the student. It is not creating universal accessibility, it's creating universal inequality. Is there a solution? According to the article, strengthen public funded schools to improve quality of education, quality of teachers training, and reduce the dependence on private tuitions. China took a lead by prohibiting school children, underage children below the age of 16, to take tuitions and coachings on a regular basis, and that's something that has to be universalized. We cannot depend on private tuitions rather than school. School should have a purpose after all. At the same time, we should also look at some such models where low private tuition is the best acid test of whether a school is doing its duty properly or not. Ensure that education is a right, not a privilege. Article 21A said education is a right, a fundamental right, the right to education. Today, we have made education as a substitute for tuition, and that doesn't justify any right. Improve teaching standards, better infrastructure, better quality, smart, digitized classroom in government schools. That's the need of the hour. Otherwise, you can keep on making tall claims like NEP, digital education, but then until it is making a difference to the children on ground, there is no point in such tall, rich, and very glamorous ideas actually. So that's what the article is trying to tell you. Quickly, let's have a look at the question. I'm missing on some interesting discussion from my students. Let me quickly peep into that. Okay, very good morning, Lakshya. Lakshya is here. Very good morning, Gelu. That's a healthy discussion going on. Rahul, Anurag, Saurav, Ramu. Very good. That's okay. That's very good. You should have discussions. Okay. Let's have a look at the question. Consider the following statements regarding school expenditure and enrollment trends in India as per the NSS 80th round 2025. 1. Vikash has already answered, and Ramu and Priyanshu. 1. In urban areas, more than half of the school going children are enrolled in private schools. Yes, think carefully, very carefully. In urban areas, in cities, more than half of school going children are enrolled in private schools. Second, the average annual course fee in private unaided school at all the levels is lower in rural areas than in urban areas. 3. The proportion of students taking private coaching is higher in urban areas than in rural areas. So, which of these statements here are correct? Have we looked at the statements properly? Have we seen the question and statements properly? Yes. I do believe there's some confusion. There is a confusion. Good morning, Arjun. You're most welcome. I'm glad to know you're from Nepal. You're most welcome on our platform. Yes. Do you want to investigate your answer again? Yes, Bacha, everyone. Look at the first statement, please. Is that correct? It's absolutely correct. We saw the data. In urban areas, it's about more than 51% children who are going to private schools. So first statement should be correct, right? Yes? Look at the second one. The average annual course fee. Annual, per year, the total fees charged in private unaided school at all the level, primary, secondary, higher, is lower in rural area than urban area. Is that the case? Is the private fee less in rural areas? No, not at all. No, 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 that's not right. Shekhar, think about it again. Yes? Is the second statement correct? Tarun, Sumedh, Pranarathi, Ramu, Vikash, Prasad, Irfan. Second statement is correct? It cannot be correct. Average fees in private unaided school, how can it be lower in rural area than in urban area? Private fees is always high. It's always high. Third one, the proportion of students taking private coaching is higher in urban areas. The proportion of students that take private tuition is higher in urban than in rural. Yes, because they can afford to do that. Rural students cannot afford to do that. Urban students can take private tuitions and coachings. Rural students can't. They don't have the disposable income to do that. So first and third are correct. Absolutely correct. So D cannot be the answer. It cannot be. Then which should be the right answer here? C or B? A is also not correct. Third is absolutely correct. First is absolutely correct. I don't know and I want you to confirm me. Was second correct or not? I don't know. I cannot answer that. Second is correct or not? So what should be the answer then? Definitely, is it B or is it C? It's a very confusing question. Is it? Is that the case, Anup? Is that the case, Anurag? What to do then? Let's keep it on a hold. At the end of the lecture, let's clarify. What's the fun if we clarify it right now? Let's keep this on a hold. Question number 1 for today. Whether the answer is B or whether the answer is C, that's the rolling confusion between all my brilliant students. 1 and 3rd are correct, I know that. But 2nd, even I don't know. We'll have to check. Correct, incorrect, we don't know. Let's have a look at the end. Let's keep this on a hold. Let's keep the suspense on. Let's proceed. All right. There is confusion. Tarun, Rahul, Ramu, Vikash, Bulbul, Prasad, Anurag, Gelu. Confusion is going on. Let's keep that up. Let's keep the investigation spirit on. Okay, we'll clarify this at the end. Let's hold it on. Okay, Irfan, I agree. Let's hold it on. Second article, editorial page. Very important article. Please focus now. Let's change the gear a little bit. We'll clarify that later. We'll clarify that. Keep the suspense on. Let's move on. Quickly, please focus. Karnataka. Please come to Karnataka with me immediately. Playing to the gallery. The article is editorial article, page number 8. Very good morning. Suresh. Playing to the gallery. What are we talking about? Recently, we were talking about the Karnataka Assembly's hate speech bill. Yesterday, we spoke about it. Again, we are talking about the hate speech bill. Yesterday, I told you in the Karnataka Assembly, the government has tabled a bill in which the government says we are going to strongly punish with jail and with some fine anybody who is making a hate speech. A hate speech is a speech that is particularly attacking some kind of community, some kind of caste, some kind of a religious group. A hate community is is a comment that kind of deliberately provokes people into communal violence with personal targeting. And therefore, Karnataka Assembly has recently tabled the Karnataka Hate Speech and Hate Crime Bill 2025. This article is looking into the basic controversy by creating a law against hate speech and hate crime. Are we trying to take away, very good Kojumba, are we trying to take away people's freedom under Article 19(1)(a, that's right to free speech and expression? Or is it justified to create a bill like that by controlling the words, the bitter words of people that create communal violence under the broader article, as Vikash had confirmed yesterday, Article 19, and Diptesh had confirmed Article 19 subclause 2. The big fight is between Article 19(1)(a and Article 19 subclause 2. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? Thank you so much, Gelu. What are we talking about? The big controversy between 19(1)(a versus 19(2). So what is happening? Let's quickly understand. Now, under Karnataka government's belief right now, the purpose of the bill is to understand the difference between good intentions versus harmful intentions. There is something called a good intent. There is something called a good intent. When somebody has a very good intention, when somebody has a good intention towards saying something, towards doing something, that's a good intent. Then there is something that's known as bad intent, something you do with the purpose of harming someone by creating a controversy, something you do that's against public morality. The purpose behind the hate speech bill, absolutely. Very good, Vikash Ramu. That's right. Good morning. Who's that? Pratikar. Good morning, dear. So, the purpose behind the bill is to make a difference between good versus bad intentions. According to the government, the idea behind the bill is to curb. What is curb? What is curb? I often tell you to learn synonyms, very important for language development. Curb, curtail, contain, stop, suppress. So what's the idea? Very good morning, Prajesh. The idea of the bill is to curb, to control, to contain. To contain what? Hate motivated crimes, hate speech, mollify, very good, hate regarding words, for targeting individuals or groups based on their religion, based on their race, based on the color, based on the gender, based on the caste, based on their sexual orientation. However, history has shown across the world that whenever we have tried to control speech, whenever we make a law to curb or to control the speech from people, it always leads to misuse and abuse of the law. Especially when the government gets a discretionary power. Especially when the government gets the discretionary power to try to control speeches of people in the name of controlling hate speech. Why is this article becoming so important? Why is this topic crucial today? Because if you look at your country, if you look at your society, in India, hate speech, especially on social media, has become very, very common, and it has become intensified. It has become intensified due to fake news, due to misinformation, due to cyber fraud and cyber crime. All these have magnified, increased the extent, the level of hate speech and hate actions in India. Hate motivated crimes are on the rise. Individuals and communities are facing prejudice. They are facing targeted abuse. They are facing repeated violence in the name of their ethnicity and caste. Very good. Absolutely, Ram. Yesterday you mentioned, today you are saying the same thing, and that's wonderful. Again, it boils down to constitutional morality by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, GS paper 4 ethics. As we discussed, we will make a separate video on that. Beautifully said, Ram. Wonderful. Yes? So, yeah, absolutely, Rahul. To avoid communal tensions and riots. Today, Karnataka government has already seen so many of such abuses. so many of such abuses, prompting the government to therefore introduce a specific legislation that can control the misuse of speech and misuse of hate crimes among people. But let's be very cautious. We are trying to walk the tightrope. We are walking in a very dangerous direction because speech restrictions have always resulted in some or the other danger side effect. Can you give an example here? Yes, we can. In some Western countries, when people are trying to conduct peaceful pro-Palestinian protest, peaceful pro-Palestinian protest, then what are these people called? These people are called as anti-Semitic. What is anti-Semitism? It was in the news throughout from 2022. What is Semitism? What is anti-Semitism? It means hatred towards the Jewish people, their culture, their legacy. Something that was done by the Nazi party under Adolf Hitler. We are talking about the Holocaust, the devastation and the deliberate genocide of the Jews. Yes? Today also, the legacy continues, and anybody who hates the Jewish community is known as anti-Semitic. Yes, that's known as anti-Semitic. So therefore, a very good example, what happens when the government tries to control the freedom of speech and expression? In Western countries like America, in Europe, whenever people are doing a peaceful march to support the freedom for Palestinian people, they are often labeled as anti-Semitic. It shows how interpretation of freedom of speech is different from one country to another. Sometimes if people in a society are trying to fight for the rights of the LGBTQ community, it is considered as antisocial. It is considered as something that's done to deliberately ruin the culture of society. Therefore, today there is a problem with this bill codified under Karnataka government. What is the problem? Because the bill has a very vague definition. I repeat and I write down here quickly. The bill has a very vague, a very abstract definition of what is hate speech. Of what do you mean by a hate speech really? The bill defines hate speech very broadly as any expression that causes injury, disharmony, enmity, hatred, or ill will among people. These are vague and subjective terms. It is impossible to define them clearly in the light of legal clause. This creates a scope of arbitrary enforcement by the government and by the state authorities, where the government gets the power and the right to decide what do you mean by hatred. By doing something to promote the right of transgender, am I trying to hate the majority society? No. If I am trying to say that I support Palestine, am I being anti-Semitic? If I say no, I am supporting the Jewish people, I support Israel. Am I being somebody who's promoting genocide? These are questions that are very confusing. An individual may have his own interpretation of their own likeness, dislike, agreement, disagreement. Who will decide what exactly is hate speech? That's a very, very broad interpretation. It is definitely in the risk of misuse and it is a threat to free speech. Definitions mean that law can be used to control dissent among people. Law can be used to control and curb political opposition and political criticism. The law could also become totalitarian. What is totalitarian? Something like a dictatorship. The law could become absolutist in nature if the government keeps on using such bills against free speech to control opposition in the name of maintaining harmony in society. Today, there are so many existing Indian Penal Code provisions, IPC provision, which already punish and penalize those people who are trying to incite violence in society. Why do we need a new sweeping law in the name of anti-hate speech when already IPC provisions are existing? It is unnecessary as per this article. Look at constitutional values here. Free speech in India is a fundamental right, Article 19(1)(a). Yes, free speech in India cannot be restricted unless you invoke Article 19(2). It can only be invoked in the case of a situation where an individual has totally broken down 6 things. 1. India's sovereignty and integrity. 2. Security of the government and the people. Public order, public morality or decency. Contempt of the court. defamation of an individual or government, incitement to communal violence. Except these 7 or 6 cases, you cannot control somebody's free speech, because Article 19(1)(a) guarantees you the right to free speech and expression. So therefore, today, by creating a new law, despite the existing IPC penalties, there is no logic of creating another law which tomorrow can be used by the government, by the people in power, by political leaders to control any attempt to criticize them. It doesn't make any sense. And the question that you've raised, who asked that question? Who said that? What do we exactly mean by reasonable? Prasad was asking. What do we mean by reasonable restrictions, Prasad? In India, if you look at India's constitution, there is Article 19(1)(a) that says you have a fundamental right to free speech and expression. Then there is Article 19 Part 2 that defines you reasonable restrictions. What are reasonable? Logical. Within the limit of logic, law. Restrictions, control. When can this free speech and expression right be controlled or curtailed? In case if you have threatened public decency, morality, India's sovereignty, security, you have incited or created a hate crime or communal hatred among people, you are defaming somebody, you are doing a contempt of court. During these cases, it can be cancelled. Okay? Then it can be cancelled. Otherwise, you have every right to say, publish, create, draw, illustrate, whatever you want to. That's it for this article. Okay? If the government, whether it's the center or the state, they try to pass any law that controls your free speech except these 8 restrictions under Article 19(2), then it will obviously not be good. The courts have every right to strike it as unconstitutional. Is that clear? That's it for this article. Okay, is that clear, Banu? Yes, absolutely. That's correct. Public morality, Rahul. Yes. Ramu, benevolent despotism, beautiful word. What is despotism? Somebody who is a dictator, authoritarian, Adolf Hitler, Saddam Hussein, North Korea, Kim Jong. All these are considered as dictators, despots. But what do you mean by benevolent? Benevolent is something that's kind-hearted, that's good for the people. So, a very good example could be King Ashoka. King Ashoka was known for his policy of paternal despotism, benevolent despotism, where he was very centralized when it came to administration. All the authority was in the hands of the king. He was very strict with people, but he always had a love for the betterment of the people. That's what it means, okay? That's what it means. Now, I can also teach you another very good word for grammar. Just in passing, it's an interesting observation. Sometimes you use words like despotic benevolence. Yes? Silent noise. Noisy silence. The dark illumination. All these are grammatical tools. Literary tools, they are known as oxymorons. Oxymorons, where you use 2 opposite words together to create a beautiful effect. This one was like that. Benevolent despotism. Although we are talking about dictatorship, but it can be benevolent if the leader thinks of the betterment of the people. These are oxymoronic expressions. Okay. Now quickly let's have a look at the question here. Yes, anybody else has any question? That's very good, Lakshya. I'm happy that you're revising. God bless you. I understand, Rahul. It's okay. Let's try not to spam the comments, my dear. Let's try to only share something that's relevant to the class. Okay. Yes, what's your question, Anurag? What's your question? Did I miss that question? Sorry about that. Let me come back to that. Or could you repeat the question, my dear? What was Anurag's question? Okay. What was Anurag's question? Please repeat the question, dear. I lost it in the comments. Okay, let's avoid the spam comments, please. Coming to the question. With reference to constitutional provisions related to restrictions on speech and protection of individual liberty in India, consider the following statements. 1. Article 19(2) allows the government to impose reasonable restrictions on free speech only on the grounds specifically mentioned in the Constitution. 2. Any restriction on speech that does not relate to the grounds listed in Article 19(2) are liable to be struck down as unconstitutional. And 3. Article 14 can be invoked. Think about Article 14. It can be invoked to challenge a law that enables arbitrary or discriminatory enforcement by the state. So which of these statements do you think are valid? Think about it carefully before we can answer. Think carefully. Read the statements properly. Yes, Prasad is answering. So is Bulbul. Who else has answered? Kojumba has answered. Vikash has answered. Anoop has answered. Yes, beautiful, Ramu. That's a wonderful example you've given. Absolutely correct. Good job. Vaibhav, I'll come to your question in a while. Allow me this question. Okay. Anybody else? Have you thought of the answer carefully? Let's revise the statements. Statement 1. Article 19(2) allows the government to impose reasonable restriction on the grounds that are mentioned in the Constitution. Absolutely, it's correct only. I mentioned you 8 grounds. All of them are valid to control free speech and expression. Rajneesh is answering. Sumit is answering. Okay? So, first statement is valid. Now look at the third statement. Article 14 can be invoked. Can we invoke Article 14? What is Article 14? The right to equality. Can we invoke the right to equality? In case we see that the government is trying to take away any kind of fundamental right, or the government is controlling the free speech and expression without any reasonable restriction, it's absolutely correct, yes. Because if the government is trying to take away your right to free speech and expression without any logical, reasonable restriction among the eight restrictions of the Constitution, it will definitely be like somebody is taking away your right to equality. Third is correct. Then what about the second one? Very good morning, aspirant. It's fine. You're welcome, my dear. Second one. Any restriction on speech that does not relate to the ground listed in 19(2) is liable to become unconstitutional? Yes, absolutely. And why is any not correct? Any will be correct. Because you cannot impose any restriction. I told you earlier. Article 19(1)(a) gives you a complete freedom. It is a fundamental right, a complete freedom, in which you can exercise the right to free speech and expression, although there are 8 reasonable restrictions mentioned in the Constitution. We spoke about incitement to violence. We speak about defamation, contempt of the court, decency or public morality, public order, security of state. Okay. Similarly, defamation. These are the 8 grounds. Beyond that, nobody can stop your fundamental right. Nobody can do that. So therefore, all are correct. C should be the valid answer. C should be the valid answer. Okay, let me ask about the backend team. In that case, we will get all the spam comments and spam commenters blocked. Okay, we'll do that. So I do request, kindly do not do that. Do not disturb the lecture. If you're interested in studies, please stay back. Otherwise, you can leave the lecture. Don't disturb the other students. It's a request. Okay, all right. I'll ask about the blocking provision. Don't worry. All right then. Who else had answered this question then quickly? Sumit has answered. Rajneeshwar answered the question. Okay, Prasad has answered. Ramu has answered. Anybody else needs any clarification here? Any is the tricky word here. Very good. Yes, Banu. Now it's clear to you? Is it clear, Kojumba? Okay, then. Any was a confusing word at the same time. Let's also understand that any means any outside the 8 restrictions mentioned in the Constitution. Any outside these 8. That's why all these are correct. Can I do that? I don't know. I'm not sure about the blocking provision. If I could have, I would have. Okay, I think I can. All right. Yes, I have blocked. Okay. Thank you so much for suggesting that. Who suggested that to me? Okay. Yes, Anurag and Rahul suggested. Thank you so much. I've already done that. So I've blocked the spamming messages. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yes, I've done it, Priyanshu. Nothing to worry now. Done it. Done it. So now onwards, we will not wait this long. Anybody who's here without the intention to study, we'll block it off. Thank you so much. Okay. I'm sorry for the inconvenience that he caused. Okay. Yes, that is very true, Eric. That's a valid point. That's a very valid point. Thank you, Anurag and Rahul, for suggesting that. Thank you, Priyanshu. Okay, quickly now the next article. That's the last lengthy article, I do suppose. The Madras High Court. And this is a case study. What is that? It is a case study from Tamil Nadu, Madras. Madras High Court must break its silence. Madras High Court must break its silence. Let's see what is going on here. What does this article have to say? Now, this article looks at a case study. This article looks at a case study from Madras, from Chennai, and let's see what the case study is. No, now nothing is there. Anurag, it's fine. You can focus on the studies. If anybody is there, I'll make sure I block it. Okay. Now, what does the article say? The article is talking about a recent controversy that happened in Madras. Let's try to focus. It's an important article. Okay, let's try to focus. What is going on? We are looking at judicial appointment. Yeah, please, that's a very valid point made by Rahul. Everybody needs to block that. In case there is a spamming going on, personally block, please, because I have blocked, it's not coming to me now. So if you block, it will be gone there. See, it's a public platform. These things can happen. Let's make sure we keep blocking and do not tolerate such things. It completely disturbs the class. Yeah, please block. Please block. Yes, everybody, please block. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, so let's come back now. Judicial appointment issue in Madras High Court. Please focus. What are we talking about? If you remember recently, this is the chapter, this is the topic that's coming from GS paper 2, polity and governance. Where is it coming from? Polity and governance. Very, very crucial. If you remember recently, I told you about Justice Suryakant, the 53rd Chief Justice of India. He made a very strong statement. What did he say? He said that the collegium system right now, that is a result of the evolution of the first, second, and third judges case, has today become very non-transparent, very opaque, and full of nepotism, full of favoritism. There are complaints that there is no transparency and clarity when it comes to the appointment of judges to the collegium system. That was making news recently, yes, and that was also something said by the Chief Justice of India, Justice Suryakant, the 53rd Chief Justice. If you remember, he also said one more thing. He said, why can't we go back to the National Judicial Appointment Commission? I told you long back in 2014, this commission was created, but it was rejected unanimously by Supreme Court in 2015 because Supreme Court prefers the collegium system. Yes, but it is full of nepotism and various kind of accusations today. This article is also talking about that. Coalition. Coalition means a form of government to which many parties form together. It's a group comprising different units. That's a coalition. We are looking at collegium. What are we looking at? The collegium system. Very good, Vikash. Collegium, absolutely right. Collegium system. The system through which Supreme Court has a group of judges selected from seniority basis who then decide matters of promotion and transfer among the judges across Supreme Court boards. Now let's understand. Yes, very good, Ram. But the collegium system was initially blamed for a lot of controversy. It was tried to be replaced by NJAC, National Judicial Appointment Commission, in which the Parliament will also have some participation in the appointment of judges. It was done in 2014. Very good, as Vikash says. 99th Amendment Act case. Very good. But very good, Rahul. In 2015, it was cancelled. It was rejected by the Supreme Court. And the collegium system continued since then. It is now recently that the 53rd Chief Justice, Justice Suryakant, has said very strongly that probably we need to have the NJAC back because collegium is not doing its purpose as well. Similar accusation was made by Justice Nagaratna, when she said, why is seniority often ignored? And why is there no transparency in appointment? Today, this article is looking at a case from Madras High Court that is doing something similar. What is going on? Let's quickly understand. What is happening is that in India, there is an article called Article 217. Don't worry, I will keep revising so you will learn that article. It's Article 217 of the Indian Constitution. It deals with the appointment of High Court judges. What does it deal with? Appointment of High Court judges. Yesterday, you and I had spoken about Articles 200, Articles 201. Today, what are we looking at? Article 217. We are looking at appointment of High Court judges. Thank you so much. Who said that? Yes, very good. Thank you, Rahul, for that. DPSP, very good. So we are looking at 217, appointment of High Court judges as per the Constitution, and there is a provision called Memorandum of Procedure. Memorandum of Procedure, in which the recommendation to the judge, the recommendation for appointment to the judges of High Court must come from the Chief Justice of High Court plus two senior most judges to senior most judges of the High Court Collegium. So, who should decide on the appointment of judges to High Court? Article 217. Chief Justice of High Court and two senior most judges of High Court Collegium. The state government, the government of the state assembly, can raise objections or seek clarification. But listen carefully, once the collegium repeats its decision, the state government is bound by that decision. The state government cannot force the High Court's collegium to change decisions regarding appointment of judges to the High Court. The core question this article is asking is that who should be in the collegium of High Court? On November 2025, the Madras High Court Collegium had recommended 6 judges for promotion. I repeat and please focus. November 2025, Madras High Court had suggested 6 judges to be promoted at the collegium level of High Court. The Tamil Nadu government did not have any objection to their merit, but they questioned the constitution of the collegium itself. The Madras government said, we don't doubt the seniority of these judges, but yes, we need more clarity on how have you made this collegium? What is the transparency behind composition of this collegium there in Madras High Court? Why was this question raised by Tamil Nadu government? Due to a senior lady judge involved here, Justice J. Nisha Banu. Justice J. Nisha Banu. Now, she is the second most senior judge. Normally, she should have been a part of the collegium as per the memorandum of procedure. She deserved to be in the collegium. She is the senior second most judge, but she was not included in the collegium. She was randomly transferred to Kerala High Court and placed at the 9th level of seniority as per a notification in October 2025 on Supreme Court's collegium recommendation. You understand the case now? A lady judge, Justice Nisha Banu, was the senior second most judge. She should have been in High Court of Tamil Nadu, Madras Collegium, but she was not promoted. She was transferred to Kerala High Court and placed at the 9th spot in seniority. She could never have an opportunity to join Kerala High Court, and she continues functioning in Madras High Court at a lower level. Neither could she make it to the collegium, nor did she get a posting in Kerala High Court. Why did this happen to her? Why did this happen to her? Today, she should be a judge in the collegium as per memorandum of procedure. But instead of including this lady judge, they have transferred her. Yes, to make her much lower in seniority than what she deserved. So rather than including her, the collegium included the other judge in the seniority list, bypassing the seniority of Justice Nimisha Banu and replacing her by Justice M.S. Ramesh. Justice M.S. Ramesh. Today, the state government is asking, what is the legal authority for excluding Justice Banu? Is this supported by the Supreme Court's direction, or does it get a support by constitutional principle? Who justifies that? The collegium had no answer. The Supreme Court collegium had no answer. Madras High Court collegium, no answer. No answer. They had no clarification to give. And they kept on recommending 9 more advocates rather than Justice Banu. Why is this a matter of concern? Very good, as Rahul says. Not even a single woman CJI appointed so far. Now Justice Nagaratna will be the first one. And we talk of women empowerment. Beautifully said, Rahul. You can light that line word by word, verbatim in your essay paper. Beautiful. Now, what is going on? The procedure means we should have some kind of clarity and substantiality in judicial appointment. The collegium system is not a statutory system, I repeat. The collegium system is not a legal system. It's not a statutory system. What is statutory? Created by a statute, created by an act of the parliament. Collegium is not that. It is created by Supreme Court judges. The second judge's case, the third judge's case. Therefore, the legitimacy should depend on strict adherence to the Supreme Court's own logic. If the court has the right to make a law, the court has the duty to follow that law also. It is not a statutory law. You made it, you have to respect that today. But the collegium is improperly constituted. If collegium was a valid system, then why do its recommendations become void in the case of Justice Banu? Why is the process so illegitimate every now and then? Something similar happened last year when, in August, in fact, 25, when two judges, one from Allahabad High Court, the other from Gujarat High Court, were promoted to the collegium. That also surpassed all the seniority that existed. That time, it was Justice Nagaratna who asked the question, how come neither do we have a lady in our panel? Second, how come repeatedly we have judges from UP and Gujarat? Why not other states? When the collegium is based on the logic of regional representation? That was also a question asked by Justice Nagaratna. Yes, today same thing is happening. That means by avoiding Justice Bano's promotion, it is creating a constitutional crisis between the judiciary and the state government. GS paper 2, polity and governance. It is not a minor technical issue because the memorandum of procedure clearly says that appointments will be made by Chief Justice of India and two senior most judges, excluding a judge like Nimisha Banu with administrative authority without any logic or reason defies the purpose that the decision making body is questionable. The entire process is vulnerable to whimsical attitude, desires, and fancies of people. What are the broader concerns today that are highlighted from the Supreme Court collegium system? Lack of cases pending. We have repeated many times about 88,000 cases pending despite collegium working at full potential, 34 cases there, 34 judges over there. Second, not one lady judge, as Rahul said. Third, lots of nepotism and favoritism, no accountability, underrepresentation of most of the states, and gender. Lack of transparency, lot of political influence. And such incidents are a reminder that today Madras Court Collegium should give a legal, clear justification for excluding Justice Nimisha Banu. And silence only means that there are possible hidden motives behind her exclusion. Supreme Court must monitor and understand that there is a need to reform the collegium system by having a clear-cut rules to appointment and composition to the collegium that should be disclosed to public. It should be published for public discussion. Transparency is very crucial here. The real controversy is not whether the judges who are being recommended are not good or qualified. What is really in question is that why is seniority bypassed every now and then? Then the collegium is constituted under Article 217 at the state level. And what about the memorandum of procedure? If all these are valid, then how can we break the laws so easily? And if they are not valid, then why doesn't the Supreme Court recommend some amendment and change to clean the system from within? Yes, absolutely, Anurag. It should be a part of Right to Information 2005. It should be every bit. So that's what this article said. That's what this article speaks about. Let's have a look at the question. Yes, Kalka. Is there any question? Let me know. Okay. That's great, Ramo. It's a double-edged sword. Absolutely it is. It's an open tactic, Anurag. Very good. Very, very good. Yes, she's the first woman CJI. Yes, Irfan. That's a valid statement. Yes, she will only get about 1 month. Very good, Banu. Very, very good. Very, very good. That's correct, Rahul. Quickly the question. It can be right to information until it is under official secrecy, until it is about arms, weapon, or Indian security. It should be. Definitely it should be. Yes, that is why we are talking about NJAC, National Judicial Appointment Commission. And that is exactly what Justice Suryakant has just said. Now, quickly the question. With reference to appointments of High Court judges in India, consider the following statements. 1. As per the memorandum of procedure, the collegium of a High Court must consist of a Chief Justice of the High Court and 2 senior most judges of that High Court. 2. The state government can reject the collegium recommendation if it disagrees with the merit of the candidates. And 3. If the High Court collegium is not properly made while making recommendations, if the High Court collegium is not properly constituted while making recommendations, the recommendations may risk becoming constitutionally invalid. So the answers are coming from Prajesh Bulbul and Priyanshu and Eric, Sumit, Saurav. What about Kojumba? What about Ramu? What about Diptesh, Vikash? And what about aspirant? Sumed has answered. Very good, Sumed. Anybody else? Definitely it is correct. That's why Justice Suryakant himself is saying that, Anurag. That's why he's saying. He's a Chief Justice of India and he himself said we need NJAC back. Can't depend on collegium. Very good, Rahul. Very good, Kojumba. Anybody else whom I'm missing out upon? Bulbul? Has Bulbul answered? She has answered. What about Diptesh Vikash? Haven't answered this one. Who else hasn't answered for us? Who else hasn't answered for us? Anybody else wants to try? Yes? Vaibhav? What about Priyanshu? What about Eric? Anybody else wants to try? Banu has answered. Okay, so absolutely the answer here is B. Very good. Very well answered, everyone. Yes, well done. It is confusing, but it's also incorrect. Yes, Anurag and Banu have answered. Very good. Why? Why is it not correct? First is right. Third is right. Second is not correct. Okay, Shekhar, I missed you. But did you answer? Anoop is answering. Okay, it is confusing. Let's clarify that. The first statement is yes, obviously correct, because as per the memorandum of procedure, when you talk about Article 217, it's logical that the collegium of the High Court has to be presided by one, the Chief Justice of that High Court, and two senior most judges. We speak about that. We already discussed that. So first is correct. Third one, if the High Court collegium is not properly made while making recommendations, they will become constitutionally invalid. Absolutely. Absolutely. That is what is the case behind Justice Nimisha Banu. If the collegium of the High Court under Article 217 has to be about one CJI and two senior most judge of the High Court, if you miss out on seniority, if the composition of the collegium itself is questionable, then how will they deliver valid decisions? Thank you, Eric. That is what. Because clearly this article had told you. What did it say? It said that we are not questioning the seniority of the judges. We are questioning the composition of the collegium in the first place, whether you are doing the seniority in the right hierarchy or not. That's why third is correct. Why is second not correct? Second is not correct because we all know that the collegium may make a recommendation. Yes, the state government can object to it. They can raise a clarification question on that, but if the collegium says no, we have to do the same thing, then the state government is helpless there. It is bound by the decision of the collegium. Okay, so it cannot do anything. It cannot do an outright rejection. Therefore, first and third are correct, whereas second statement here holds invalid. Okay, so wonderful. Rajneesh also answered. I saw that. Now is it clear? No, I haven't blocked anybody else. Is that clear? Yes, very good. You can question that. Definitely you can question that as the government, but then you cannot. You cannot reject the decision taken by them in the long run. That is important. Now the next article, quickly we'll do it. It's a science article. After a long time we are discussing an article. Let's do it in 5 minutes and finish off. We are doing an article from GS paper 3 today, Science and Technology. In specific, we are looking at the Gaganyaan mission. We all know India's first manned spacecraft mission. People are very excited about that. Quite a while back, it was the very well-known astronaut from India. Who was that? Who was that? Mr. Subhanshu Shukla. He was in the news because he had taken up another mission. Which mission was that? Which mission was that? Was it Axiom mission? Subhanshu Shukla had taken the Axiom mission. The mission went to this International Space Station. One Indian astronaut also went. Yes. Why are all these things being done? Because ultimately we are preparing for the Gaganyaan mission very soon. And today this article is talking about, what is this article talking about? This article is only talking about what do you mean by giving security to our astronauts. See, it's very easy to make a plan and send your astronauts abroad. What happened with Miss Sunita Williams? She was caught up in space for such a long time. After coming back, what happened? She experienced various kind of skeletal, neuromuscular disorders, problems, because she was caught up there for a very long period. So obviously, it is a part of our ethics, science ethics GS paper 4. Yes, very good Ramu, very good Sumit, very good Prasad, Sumedh, very, very good Priyanshu, Kojumba. We are talking about Axiom 4 mission. Correct. Very, very good. Yes, she was not able to walk properly, Priyanshu. You lose the sense of gravity also. Your muscles become very loose, very weak. So now what happens if we are sending somebody to space? It is absolutely a duty. It is a protocol that the person must be brought back from the space very, very safely, right? So this article is therefore talking about a concept that is known in science as human rating. You may get a prelims question on this. So quickly let me make you understand. In brief, what does this article say? This article says sending humans to space is way more dangerous than sending satellite to space. I repeat, sending a human being into space is very difficult as compared to sending a satellite in the space. Therefore, rockets must be specially designed. Rockets must be specially strengthened, tested, and certified. This process is called as human rating. Very good. Human rating. What is human rating? Human rating is that engineering process and certification process that guarantees that a launch vehicle and a crew module are safe for carrying astronauts into space. It is understood in terms of NASA standards. Whose standards? We follow the NASA standards here. And what are NASA standards? The possibility of loss of crew during an accident, during ascent, or during descent must be less than 0.2%. The case of accident while going into the space, while coming back from space. For the astronauts who are on board the shuttle should be less than 2%. That should be the safety protocol that should be followed. And what are the safety protocols that we need under human rating system? Is everybody clear about human rating? That system which creates and assures that a launch vehicle and a crew module will be safe to take the astronauts into the space, and they will also bring them back safely in the space. We follow NASA standards here. The risk should be less than 0.2%. So what are the protocols followed under human rating? Listen carefully, please. One is known as redundant systems. What am I talking about? I'm writing it here. One is called redundant system. What is redundant system? Redundant system means extra backup that can take over in the case main system fails. A very small example. Suppose a rocket is carrying one main flight computer. What if it gets spoiled? What will you do? Therefore, you have to carry at least 2 extra backups with you. If one main computer fails, the one backup system works. If that backup also fails, a third backup system will work. So redundant system means you provide a good amount of backup to all the technical systems of the spacecraft and crew module. Yes, that is called redundant system. In human space flight, every critical part should have multiple backups so that astronauts remain safe even if some accident happens or it can go wrong. This is called redundancy. Why do we need redundancy? I repeat, because rockets are facing extreme conditions, at least in the first phase of their takeover, of their ascent to the space. A single failure should not lead to the loss of crew. That's why multiple backups called redundancy. Yes? Now, if you look at the practice done by NASA and ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization, typical NASA and ISRO, you will be surprised to know they follow about 3 to 4 layers of backups. It means they have 3 to 4 layers of redundancy. One is redundancy, then what is the second system under human rating? Second system is known as abort capacity. I repeat, abort capacity. Abort capacity throughout ascent. That is also known as crew escape module or crew escape system. What does it mean? Listen carefully. At any moment as the rocket climbs up into the space, as the rocket goes into the space, at any moment, the astronauts can be pulled out. The astronauts can be taken away safely if something goes wrong. And how does the abort capacity work? It works within milliseconds. How does it work? Within a millisecond, fraction of a second. If there is an explosion, if the engine has failed, if there is a fire, if there is a loss of control, in a second automatic alarm goes up. There are very small motors installed there. They are very small, but they are very powerful. These motors then deliberately separate. What do they separate? the crew capsule or the crew module from the main body of the rocket. Suppose, don't laugh at my drawing. This is the main rocket. There is a crew module attached. Under abort capacity, in case there is any failure in the system, immediately it will be detected, and within seconds, less than a second, millisecond, this will be detached from the body of the main rocket. And then what happens? It will be carried to a safe distance. From there, parachutes will open and astronauts can land back safely on the planet, on the ocean, or the land. Third is fault tolerance. What is fault tolerance? Fault tolerance means if there is a single point failure in the aircraft, if there is a single point failure in the rocket main body, then the rocket still continues to function. Despite minor failures, the rocket can still tolerate and be safe in the space. It doesn't get endangered so easily. Fault tolerance ensures that no matter if there is a small defect, if there is a small case of some kind of malfunctioning, the rocket still continues to operate much more safely. Then the last is known as ECLSS. And what do you mean by that? Environmental Control and Life Support System. Then there is a rigorous training. There is a rigorous safety protocol done for the astronauts. Everybody is so delighted at my drawing. Is that so funny? You understood? My purpose is solved. I also don't want to become Michelangelo. You have understood? That's sufficient. Okay. Now coming back. Therefore, human rating demands very complex procedures. You saw all these procedures under human rating. You saw all that. What was that? Redundancy, abort capacity, fault tolerance, environment control and life support system. Yes? Understood all of that? Rigorous testing, certification, documentation, all that is required. Thank you, Kojumba. Now what's the problem? Normal rockets like LVM-3, I repeat, normal rocket launchers like LVM-3 are already considered safe for the satellites. But at the level of launching a human crewed spacecraft, this much safety offered by LVM-3 is not enough. It is not enough. We need some more investment in all these difficult procedures. Human rating is a necessity when it comes to sending an astronaut to the space. You cannot depend on standard LVM-3 rocket. You can't. So, what's the choice? You have to invest more money in human rating protocols, whether it's redundancy, whether it's rigorous testing, whether abort capacity, whether fault tolerance. You need money for that, research for that. And human rating demands very high safety standards, proper backup systems, escape system, heavy testing, zero tolerance for failure. As NASA says, less than 0.2% of failure should be tolerated. Now what is happening? Only very few rockets in the world have been given human rating successfully. Very few rockets in the world today have positive human rating because the process is complex, time consuming, it's very expensive. India, therefore, in order to be successful in Gaganyaan, is now, listen carefully please, is now going to improve, enhance LVM-3 into HLMV-3. What? India is now going to upgrade its engine from LVM-3 to HLVM-3. Why? To meet the global standards for Gaganyaan mission. Why is it so challenging? Because typically a rocket is much more difficult than flying an aeroplane. A rocket should reach 28,000 kilometers away from the earth in just 8 to 10 minutes. During that period, it experiences extreme vibrations. Structural loads are to be carried. Very, very dynamic pressure is around the rocket that now. It's a very high pressure situation. Rockets usually have 98 to 99.5% reliability. There is a big risk. Whereas commercial aeroplanes are very safe. They have a chance of 10 to 20 million safety with only one accident in about 10 to 20 million flights. Only one accident is the risk. But with rockets, different situation is there. They have to reach 28,000 kilometers in just 10 minutes. It's a high pressure situation. That means it is definitely about a huge risk that is involved. Have we seen any other human tested vehicles in the world before? Yes, we have. Look at Russia, the Soyuz 2. It is an example of human rating that is successful. China, Long March 2F, example of successful human rating, the Shenzhou missile. US, Falcon 9, SpaceX, successful. Atlas 5, the Boeing Starliner, successful. NASA SLS, successful. All these are successful. Then, who certifies human rating in the world? If we have some successful examples, which I just spoke about, Soyuz Russia, Long March China, it is America that judges the safety. NASA does that. NASA provides standards for human rating. China provides. Then Roscosmos, Russian Space Agency, also provides. Okay, all these provide. Have there been a success record for all these missions? Yes. If you look at Soyuz has seen about 150 crewed missions, 98% success. SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket, very good. Who mentioned that? Mayur mentioned, very good. SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket. It has seen about 100% success in 20 human missions so far. At the same time, China's Shenzhou Long March 2F mission. It has seen 16 missions since 2023. All are successful. No mission has had a problem so far, except for the Shenzhou 20. And there also the problem was space debris. Too much debris, waste created in the space. No other problem came. But all the rockets in the world cannot be human tested. It is expensive, time-taking and costly. So therefore, today India is working towards that by upgrading the LVM3 into HLVM3. We are doing that improvement. We are getting more redundancy systems, more backup. We are creating more strong engines, enhanced reliability, better crew escape module and system. And then what happens? Why cannot we use LVM3? Why do we need this expensive upgrade? Because although LVM3 has been proven very successful in the case of Chandrayaan 3, 7 missions have seen success with LVM3, including Chandrayaan 3. It is the most reliable rocket of ISRO, but today, although we support Atmanirbharta in space, when it comes to human safety, we cannot take any risk. And therefore, we are working by creating an indigenous upgrade to LVM3 and making it HLVM3 so that we take zero risk when it comes to the safety of our astronauts before sending them into the space. The capacity overall is lower, especially redundancy capacity. Very, very good. Okay, that's it. Now let me come back to the comments. Okay, so yeah, I know you're all having a gala time when I draw something, but that's the only solution I have to draw. As I said, I am not interested in becoming any MF Hussain. If you've understood, my purpose is solved. Okay. Yes, human safety is important. That's correct, Anurag. That's why NASA says less than 0.2% risk. Quickly, the question. With reference to human rating launch vehicle, consider the following statements. 1. Human rating needs rockets to achieve an acceptable low profitability of loss of crew. Human rating needs rockets to achieve an acceptably low probability of loss of crew, often through redundant systems and abort capacity. 2. Human rated rockets are mainly designed to maximize payload, mass delivered into orbit at lowest cost. And 3. ISRO's think again. ISRO's HLVM3 meant for Gaganyaan is being created by upgrading and certifying existing LVM3 launch vehicle. Which of these are valid? Just look at the statements a little more cautiously. Then try. Prajesh, Sumit, Priyanshu, Kojumba have answered. Rajneeshwar, Saurav has answered. What about Eric? What about Ramu and Diptesh and Vikash? Why aren't they answering today? Sumit, Saurav answered. Rajneeshwar answered, as I said. What about Prasad? Okay, what about Bulbul? What about Vikash? Where are you? Diptesh, where are you? Kojumba has answered. Has she answered? She has. Very good, Anurag. Ramu, that's correct. So absolutely B should be the right answer. Undoubtedly, yes, it should be B. Why? Because third and first are valid. Second cannot be valid. Yes, Eric, that's correct. Second is not correct. It's the opposite of the truth. When we talk about normal commercial payloads, we are sending huge bulk of equipment in the space. So the idea is to maximize successful landing. But even if something goes wrong, it's okay. It is not about a human safety after all. The idea is to maximize, to send maximum payload in the space. But that's not possible in the case of a human flight. In the case of a human flight, the main objective is not to send maximum payload in the space. You have to maximize the security and safety of your astronauts. That's why the cost of investment becomes double, because when you support human rated rockets, then you are spending a lot of money in providing extra backups. And you are doing everything you can to make sure that engines are very strong. Capacity is very, very enhanced. That's why in India we are shifting from LVM3 to now HLVM3 when it comes to the Gaganyaan mission. Hope that's clear now, Anurag. Very good, Eric. Very good, Rahul. That's the right answer. Now, the last article, perhaps, it says America has now cleared about $686 million F-16 fighter fleet deal to support Pakistan. This is not the first time people are supporting Pakistan. Yesterday, we saw how IMF, International Monetary Fund, has once again given a major payout, a bailout to Pakistan. Second time in 2025, despite India's objections. Pakistan has been given a bailout. Recently, I told you Saudi Arabia became a major friend of Pakistan by signing a strategic mutual defense agreement, SMDA. Today it is America. America has promised Pakistan that because now your technology is very outdated, because now you need to upgrade your existing F-16 fighter jet system, we will provide you with money and technical support so that you can upgrade your defense infrastructure. What is F-16? F-16 is an American-made fighter jet, typically called Lockheed Martin F-16 Fighting Falcon. That's the name for it. It has been used by majority of defense forces across the world, including Pakistani Air Force. Today, America is saying, I am not giving any new consignment of F-16 to Pakistan. I am only trying to help Pakistan in upgrading its existing F-16 weapon arsenal. We are planning to give about $686 million to improve and modernize Pakistan's F-16 by making sure communication systems are upgraded. We are doing training and logistical support to Pakistan in terms of advanced aviation electronics. Also, software mission plans are being done. We will improve the service capacity of Pakistani F-16 fighter jets by 2040. That means now they can be used until 2040. Another 15 years, they can be fully functional. Very good, Mayur. That's the production house. So the name is Lockheed Martin. Yes. What will happen now? It will improve the interoperability of Pakistani forces alongside America. These will help Pakistan in doing future missions. America says, my idea is not to disturb regional security in South Asia. That's not my intention. My intention is only to strengthen Pakistan's own strategic defense system so that Pakistan can conduct counter cooperation, training, interoperability with its allied forces. That's it. So India agrees or not, that's what Pakistan says. And now before we can end the lecture, Karnataka Assembly, which we just spoke about, has tabled the Anti-Hate Speech and Hate Crime Bill, has also introduced another very interesting bill, and the topic is very, very, very crucial for those, I repeat, for those who have adopted or taken sociology, PSIR or anthropology as their optional. Give a special focus to this article because this article is looking into words like caste panchayat. In India, caste panchayat is often known as khap panchayat. I don't know if you know that, but it's called khap panchayat. In India, the rural India is very, very divided on caste lines. Generally, in many villages, it is the upper caste communities which create parallel governance bodies like Khap Panchayats. These are not government created panchayats. They are created by people themselves from the upper caste who are rich land owning caste. Yes, examples, Ajgar. Examples, so many other. These are common in majority of states, particularly northwestern states, Haryana, Punjab, UP. Now this, yes, very good. Now this article is saying that Karnataka Assembly has tabled another bill. The idea of the bill is to make sure that no individual is subjected to social boycott. No individual is subjected to being thrown out of the village. No individual is subjected to denial of job opportunity. Nobody is stopped from participating in religious, community, and social functions. And nobody is thrown out of interaction from the village society. Why? Because all these are traditional punishments given by Khap Panchayats. And therefore, Karnataka government says we are announcing a bill, a very revolutionary bill indeed, a very crucial topic of GS paper 1, Indian society. Salient feature of Indian society means Indian caste system. And this article says Karnataka Social Boycott, Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Bill 2025 has been passed. What is the motive of the bill, Anurag? The motive of the bill is to punish and prohibit anybody from boycotting. Another very good word for boycotting in English, ostracizing. Ostracizing, condemning, removing any individual from participating in social groups or village life. So today, no Khap Panchayat. Today, no kind of individual, no social group has the right to socially boycott another individual. And if you do that, it is a criminal offense. You'll be liable for 3 years of jail with about rupees 1 lakh fine. The act will cover 20 type of boycott acts like reducing somebody's work opportunity, not giving them right to come to the temple or gurudwara or mosque, not letting them drink water from the well, all of those things. It will not be tolerated. Such victims will also be given protection and compensation. Ultimately, we will appoint a social boycott prohibition officer who will look into these complaints and act accordingly. So that's it, all about that. Yes, definitely, constitutionally, it touches many articles like Article 17. You cannot practice untouchability. Article 23, you cannot practice human trafficking or bonded labor or slavery. It is Article 19, right to freedom. Article 14, equality. Article 50, right to equality in education and employment opportunities. It is very much Article 21, right to life. Yes, all of those rights are covered here. Yes, so that's it for today's news. And these are all the answers here for the first question, in which we had a thorough debate. The answer is answer C. What's the answer? The answer is answer C. Any doubts, we can clarify later. Without taking extra time from you now, I take your leave for today's newspaper session. I hope you enjoyed. Apologies for the small spamming and discomfort in between. Okay, and I really enjoy the way you people are also having personal discussions about various issues. So definitely please carry that spirit on and do interact with each other. And I'll see you tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. with another Hindu news class. In the meantime, everybody, as I take your leave, God bless you. Take care of yourself. All the very best. Do remember, if you're studying for UPSC 2027, this could be a great opportunity to enroll in a course that ensures you prelims, mains, and basic interview guidance. All books and materials we shall provide you with one-on-one mentorship. How can you enroll for the course? It is only 12,999 for more than 1 year by using code SPLY. So please let your friends know. Please spread the idea. Similarly, for 2028, if you want an integrated preparation with us at StudyIQ, please use code SPLY and take the course today so that we can be a part of your preparation journey. Thank you so much, Sumit, Ramu, Sumed, Anurag, Priyanshu, Saurav. Thank you very much, Eric, Rahul, Prajesh. What is that question, Anurag? Can you please repeat that question, my dear? With so many comments rolling in, I skip it off. In the meantime, I'm thanking everyone. You do let me know your question. Bye-bye Prajesh, bye-bye Kochumba, bye-bye Diptesh Vikash, bye-bye Bulbul, bye-bye Mayur, bye-bye Rajnishwar, bye-bye, who else was there with me? I think I've done everyone. Rahul, Saurav, bye-bye Prasad, bye-bye Sumed. See you tomorrow. Code name Himalaya. Bye-bye Banu, AB. Okay. Yes, Priyanshu I already met. Bye-bye Irfan. Bye-bye Vaibhav. Anybody else am I missing out upon? Okay, that's it for the day then. God bless you. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Banu. Anurag, could you please repeat your question, dear? Otherwise, I can also address that tomorrow. Okay, you can let me know your question tomorrow. Let me quickly answer that tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye, Anoop. God bless you. I think I'm done with everyone. So I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, we can discuss the question tomorrow. Thank you, Kuchumba. Okay, that's your question. You read about Mexico tariff. Yes, Mexico tariff issue will become more important next week. So we will take a detailed analysis from this Monday onwards, because yes, it is impacting India in some way, but not in a major way. It's a part of India's trade diversification strategy overall. So today, it's a small article in the passing. Monday onwards, we'll consider the impact of tariff, then we'll include the Mexico 40% issue. What is going on? Why is Mexico putting 50%? That we'll talk about, okay? Okay, thank you, Ramu, for telling me that question. That's super kind of Ramu to repeat Anurag's question. God bless you, Ramu. As always, thank you for your support. It is important. We'll take it up. Okay, so bye bye, Priyanshu, Ramu, Anurag, and Anup. Bye bye.